And so, beloved masters, greetings on this day. It is a most magnificent time on the planet as humanity is involved in the translation from where you have been for the last 50,000 years. And now you are at a point of turning that is going to move you into a place where you've never been. So the question for today, how do you adapt to something you don't know? How do you get yourself comfortable with the idea that the divine is really working for you, but it is that you've been so accustomed to planning everything for so long because that's what the logical mind does. It needs proof in the plan. It really would prefer to know what the exact outcome of being in this plan will be. And we find that humanity is very, very wound up in writing scripts for their play and neglecting to ask the other characters if they really want to play that part or not. So that leads to a lot of frustration and disappointment when your plan is that I will say this and they will do that. And then they will say this and I will do that. And I said this and they didn't do anything. Or I said this and they certainly didn't do that. They did something else entirely. So bringing yourself to center, and we keep coming back to this again and again because that's where the real changes are going to happen. That's where they're beginning to happen right now, is inside, in the heart, in the soul center, even as the logical mind begins to translate into divine connection with all that is, and you find yourself feeling so much more open, so much freer, so much more altogether. Three-eye axis. It has been around for actually a number of centuries now, but it hasn't been discussed. Perhaps it hasn't even been named by scientists until much more recent times. But there is, you might call it an underground network of those who are constantly watching the skies, and they've spotted it and didn't know what it was, and they've observed the progress ever since it got to the place where you could see it basically with a very inexpensive telescope. So throughout 2025, the actions and activities of 3i Atlas has been a miracle, a question, a total confusion to the logical mind because they're obviously watching. They've been watching for a long, long time. The structure of AI appears to be metallic, and yet it's very lightweight, which suggests that it's hollow. And it has a red glow, which definitely suggests that there's a lot of energy there. And as scientists have traced it and tracked it, their numbers are finding it to be totally beyond what modern science on the planet Earth has any consideration of. In fact, scientists are so amazed by this energy, but it's also very humbling because they are beginning to feel quite primitive in that essence. And it moves, it observes. In fact, they have decided that the 3i axis can definitely watch everything that's going on Earth. They're just observing. They're not making any move to take over. There doesn't seem to be any energy of aggression. It's almost as though what the 3i Atlas is putting out very much fits what religions have described as God. God is there. God is patient. God knows you through and through. God understands you. God adores you. And God actually gave you free will so that there wouldn't be a lot of divine interference. Yet God is always watching. And the future is no more something that you can know about, no more than scientists can read. They cannot tell you what the future is going to be. In fact, they are absolutely confused by the fact that this is obviously from somewhere else, and yet it doesn't seem to fit the category of alien. Because in this universe, there is a lot of real estate. And it is that there were times so long ago that humanity has no consciousness of it. There was a planet called Maldek, and Maldek was very much like Earth. And they moved very much along the same courses that the Earth is moving today. And they destroyed the planet with nuclear power. And at that point in time, the divine commitment was this will never happen again. This will not take place in this way again. Even though there is free will for every human being to make their own choices for their life, to destroy what has been given to them is not going to happen again. And so, dearly beloved masters, to let go of what you have been holding on to, and many people are holding on to, well, what's going on here will clear up and we can go back to where we were. It doesn't exist. You have memories, but if you attempted to go back to where you have been, you might go back to the neighborhood where you were raised as a child and find it doesn't exist any longer. Or you might go back to the land that you knew had at one time been in your family, only to find that the land had been used no longer for a beautiful forest or for planting wonderful crops, but now it is about strip malls and concrete and asphalt. And so, dearly beloved masters, letting go completely of any desires that you would have to go back, let them go, because where you are going is going to be so much more than you could possibly imagine, so much more than you've known before. Because in all of the lifetimes that you have had here on Earth, what you can remember, the souls that are on the planet today, most of them still can only remember, even if they're in touch with aspects of themselves from other lifetimes. You could probably only remember back 8, 10, maybe 12,000 years. And so, beloved masters, where things are moving now, where Earth is going today, is something that you will be amazed to be a part of, to really experience in a much more intimate, and personal way the relationship with the divine, the relationship with that essence that not only created Earth, but created this galaxy, this solar system, this universe, and other universes. And they're not what you might call cookie cutter universes, where each one is just exactly like the last one. They're all very unique. They're very different. They are powerfully unique. As the divine expresses divine mind in multitudinous ways. And so when we say you're more, and your logical mind strains to consider what more could possibly be. Oh, you want more things. You'd like to have more money. But to think of more that this planet herself could be, especially when you look at what's happening out there in these times, when so much of humanity has forgotten or really isn't even thinking about the idea that I have a soul. Everyone has a soul. The planet Earth has a soul. The animals have soul connection to the divine. They function a little differently than the human animal does because you were granted a mind that potentially can cooperate with the divine. And yes, it's brilliant. And no, it won't take over God because divine mind is always growing and changing, creating and manifesting. And so by the time that the logical mind could even begin to consider what divine might be creating, it's so far ahead. And so it is with the three-eye atlas that it is human scientists, those that are involved with discovering how things work, are astounded at all of the possible potential that this, yes, unknown is about. What is it? One of the things that really astounds the scientists, Three-Eye Atlas is so patient. It's been watching for as long as anyone has known, which gives the idea that it's probably been watching for much longer than that, but only now in the year 2025, as things are really beginning to move into the essence and energy of the turning, only then did it really become quite visible. Visible enough to watch what it's doing, visible enough to track energetic signals that it's putting out that seem to be in a very clear understanding of how it desires to broadcast to other star systems, to other planets, to other galaxies. And the logical mind just cannot understand. For the scope of what they have known, what they have been taught, what they have been told is so limited. And so, beloved masters, we have said that the three-eye atlas is a love letter from the universe. It is a communication of how absolutely special this place is. Now, there are other places that are experiencing this, but Earth isn't necessarily in touch with them. And yet, here is, as the planet Uranus, ruler of the Aquarian age, is getting ready to return to the sign of Gemini, community, communication, drawing together, sharing, just as that amazing aspect. Jupiter is about community. It's about drawing together. It's also about integrity. It's about authenticity. And dearly beloved masters, as you begin to really allow yourselves to connect within, you will feel, not necessarily have ideas, mental concepts, pictures, but certainly you will have energetic impulses that allow you to recognize that you are sovereign. Sovereign. On earth, a sovereign is a king or queen or some leader that tells everyone what they should be doing. But sovereignty is a gift that belongs to each one of you. 8 billion souls. And that's really actually only counting human beings. That's not counting the natural world, the animal kingdom. Because logic has moved to such a point of discount of so much of divine creation that the animals are considered much less than humanity. But before the last turning, the animals communicated. They spoke. They had their own ideas. Many of them, though they might look like some animal that you would identify with here on Earth, a raccoon, a goat, an owl, a deer, the white stag, representations of spiritual essence that those who have continued to celebrate the ancient, not just old, but ancient ways, those those beings remember when there were other worlds that were potentially easily accessed from this one. And they were open to intercommunication. And the majority of them, dearly beloved masters, weren't human beings. Beings, yes. But if you listen to the fairy tales, the stories about the little people, this is what those grand beings, those divine sovereign beings, have been resolved to by the logical mind in its fear of anything it can't conquer. And so a fairy has been brought to the scope of Tinkerbell. That's safe enough. You could probably hit her with a fly swatter. And the logical mind is quite prone to say that if it bothers me, if it disturbs me, then I'll just annihilate it. I'll kill it. And so that is moving on the earth in this time to epic proportions. So 3I Atlas has moved in. In a cosmic sense, you could say they're in your backyard. You might even say they're in your closet. And so the preparation for this turning that happened so long ago, an age is about 2,600 years. So you could say the last turning was about 20 ages ago, give or take a bit. It stretches the very confines of the logical mind to conceive of 1,000 years, much less 20 times 2,600. It seems as though the birth of Christ was so long ago. And yet, beloved masters, it was only about 20,000 years ago, or 2,000, I should say, excuse I. You get out there in those numbers and you really do kind of just move your perspective on and on. So everyone on Earth is energetically being called from within to walk to the edge of your comfort zone and take one more step. Step beyond where you're comfortable. Step into a place where you know you don't know. And feel in your center, in your heart, in your soul, feel how vast it feels when you don't have some concept of limitation. Free will is unlimited. In free will, you can go as far as you're willing to allow yourself, as long as it's for the highest good of all concerned. Right now, there are those that are wanting to stretch their own limits, but in order to stretch their own limits, they're wanting to absorb what other people have. They're wanting to take from others to make their kingdom bigger. And 3I axis atlas. And I keep saying axis because so much of the energy that's operating on the Earth is in the Earth axis now. Planets that are in the first 2 degrees of a sign or in the last 2 degrees of a sign are influencing the Earth axis. Many people have gotten very caught up in the idea that there's going to be a polar flip. And all the horrors that the logical mind has gone to imagine what a polar flip might be like. And how will we survive? And logic has said, well, you get inside the earth, of course, as though it's new. Because the logical mind has completely dismissed the fact that there are beings living in the ocean. They're not human, but you could say they're humanoid. There are beings that are living in the inner earth, quite unique, quite different. But logic really doesn't have time for that. So it has been written off as mythology or something so old that it probably doesn't exist. It's like dinosaurs. So, dearly beloved masters, the taking aspect that logic has really fueled actually diminishes. As you receive, as you share what you receive, it returns to you magnified. So sit with that. And as you're letting go of everything that you just believe you cannot live without, also consider that as you're letting go, you are making a space for more than you could possibly imagine today. Don't think about it. Feel into it. Let it inform you. Let you be so open that you begin to actually grasp where potentially things are going. Not a guaranteed future, this is what's going to happen. But the more that you keep your inner space focused on love, on light, on what the essence of faith is about. The fact that the new currency is going to be frequency. That right now on the planet, there are minds that are beginning to play with the idea of changing how all the currency on the planet functions and putting themselves in charge of how all the currency on the planet functions. So that anything that you want to buy must have an okay from someone. And maybe anything that you want to buy must also have a tariff, a tax attached to it, so that those that are controlling the finances of the planet will always get their share, no matter what. And that doesn't just strike a chord of fear, it strikes a gong. But it is as you let go of the entanglement of the roots that have been planted in soil that is now becoming sterile because what it's been growing in these past, I will say, 500 years has been moving you away from an understanding of who you are in all of this. There have been leaders, kings, queens, presidents, dictators, and you have been we the sheeple. A lot of it started with the Master Jesus. He was called a good shepherd, and all of the people were his sheep. Isn't that complimentary? In times past, sheep were not even what they're thought of as today, rather dumb. But then there are those that are perpetrating acts all over the planet now that think that every human being on the planet, except the small number that they are operating with, are really dumb. And revelation, it's in the Bible. And it was portrayed as a last great war, a war that would basically wipe out what was so you can start over. But beloved masters, you are brilliant. You are amazing. You are valuable. You are worthy. And you have been being programmed for the last at least 25,000 years that you are less and less and less. But as you would watch, observe as Three Eye Atlas is, what's going on the planet? And more people are catching fire, not with rage, maybe some righteous indignation, but it is that they are waking up to the fact that I deserve better than this. And that gently leads to a new awareness that as I recognize that I am worthy, I recognize that you are also. I can see what you are. Why can't you see what you are? Because all of us have been taught to look away from who we are. When I walked on earth, I walked in that same understanding. But it was quite a while back. And it is that the earth hadn't moved to such a place of discount of others as it has today. And yet, every human being is worthy. I had someone ask the other day, how can you possibly say that the master Donald Trump is a master? And I said, because every being on this planet is a divine co-creator with God. Everyone. How far they have come from that understanding deep within themselves literally is free will, personal choice. That they have followed paths that they believed would take them to some outcome that they, at least intellectually, believed they desired or deserved. But everyone on this planet, no matter what it looks like, and I tell you again and again, masters, ain't nothing what it seems here. whatever it looks like, however rich the rich look, however poor the poor look. It's not exactly that because who you are on the inside is where your true wealth lies. And that's one reason that the logical mind has put so much effort into getting humanity to disdain the inner world. Everything you want's out there. Really? Love, joy, peace, compassion, and a really, really big word on the planet now, belonging. Do you feel like you belong? And you might say that Three Eye Atlas is observing what's going on the planet. And even though it doesn't seem to be doing anything, it is sending blessings. It is sending transcendency. I call this here transcendency. Yes, it is. And you will, and you are. And so, beloved masters, to remember from the depths of your being, I belong. I belong in this place. I didn't make a mistake being born on earth. I'm here because it was intentional. I didn't get off on the wrong planet by some mistake of the concept, the transit system of the universe, we might call it. I'm here on earth in these times because it is divinely appropriate. So, how are you going to adapt to what you don't know, but you're beginning to feel? Because knowledge, intellect are, you might say, open systems that don't go one way or the other to the inner world or outer world. In fact, they are aspects of the liminal space, the in-between space between the depths of the inner world, which is connected to higher consciousness, and the energetic outpicturing of the outer world, where you have been programmed like robots for many lifetimes, that only a few people deserve to have a good life. This is a huge planet, small in comparison to many, but still, it's a big planet. And yet, the number of beings that are here has been viewed by the logical mind as there are far too many people here for this planet to support you. So we have to cull the populations. And so they are. The Grim Reaper with his scythe going around supposedly taking away those that don't have anything to offer. But the Grim Reaper in this instance is very, very sure that he's calling the best because you don't want great minds that know what's going on. You want people who are sheeple, who are frightened, who are wounded, who are afraid to live up to who they are. But it's time, dearly beloved masters, for each one of you to live up to who you are. And the logical mind says, well, that sounds hard. That sounds like work. I thought it was going to get easier here. It is what you perceive it to be. Hard work has been established as a necessity for success. And yet, dearly beloved masters, so many people have worked so hard for so long and gotten so little that the idea of hard work has been much more emphasis on hard and the work of it rather than the delightful creative investment of your own energetic ideas, concepts. Out in the outer world, ideas and concepts and imagination are considered outer, but we perceive them as inner, connected to your divine alignment. Divine alignment. You're connected to the divine right now. You're connected to the divine always. You are forever. Your soul never dies. You may change clothes, go into a new lifetime, but who you are intrinsically is always. So, dearly beloved masters, this time of transcendency, of awakening, of becoming authentic, because what the outer world has taught humanity is to be fake, unreal, wear a mask, put on a costume. So, dearly beloved masters, let go of the tension and the stress and the calculations. Let go of your ledgers and your calculations and your numbers. Yes, numbers are a language of the universe. They absolutely are. But they were never meant to be hovered over, to be in constant calculation of them, or that they would be used against anyone else in any destructive or lethal manner. So, dearly beloved masters, three-eye Atlas axis is watching. And it's watching you in such a love, such an unconditional love. The logical world says, well, if you really love me, you'd let me do exactly what I want to do. But unconditional love sees you for the truth of your being. How magical, mystical, magnificent you are. Dearly beloved masters, Three-Eye Atlas isn't here to destroy. It isn't here to take away. The divine didn't create that way. Balance? Yes. The flower is a seed that is planted in the soil, and it's nurtured and attended to until it breaks through the soil and becomes a plant, and then it is nurtured and attended to differently. You came from a seed that was planted in fertile soil in your mother's womb. And the divine design was that you would be nurtured and attended to through the time of growth. And when you were born, you would be nurtured and attended to in love as something so special, so wonderful, so amazing. And it was that way. But there's always darkness because it's absolutely necessary for balance. So 50,000 years ago, there was genetic alteration of the chromosomes so that you could live in flesh, human. Divine Mind said, let's see what they will do with this. And in the beginning, it was absolutely beautiful. It was just as wonderful as it had been. The memories of how amazingly cooperative it had been were there. And they're in your DNA, which is why, even in this time, when someone tells you not to do something, you feel within yourself either shame that you were about to do what they told you not to, or rebellion that they would dare to tell you you couldn't do that, or perhaps a deep sense within yourself of something that, as you had thought of it, it wasn't what they are perceiving you were desiring to create. Maybe because they felt the goodness, the graciousness, the faith, the transparency and authenticity in your choice and envied it and wanted to make you feel bad because you were about to create some real good. So a part of your great letting go now is holding back. That doesn't mean you go out and join those that are in destruction. It means finding your inner connection to the divine that brings you home to your infinite goodness. And forgive, letting yourself be held back by the ideas and opinions of those who do not care. For Three Eye Atlas cares. And there are many that are coming from many places that see what is potentially transpiring on this sentient jewel of the universe. And they are coming also to watch, not to act, but to watch and to transmit energy that will help all of the beings of Earth, all of the beings of Earth, no matter where their focus is in this time, help them to remember, and this is who you are. You were created by the divine to cooperate. You were given free will to create great things. You are a part of an allness that has no limits. If you came to the edge of this universe, there would be another one. Logic cannot grasp it. And so people have just put their head down and tried to survive. And life has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller until a vast majority of people are looking at life in this very narrow perspective. It's a little bit like watching life through an auto. And when you step back and you find out the fence is only about 4 feet long, and you were looking at life, your whole life, through an auto. And you step back and you step around the end of the fence, and oh my God, look at what's out here. Look at what I can accomplish. Look what I can create. Look what I can have. Not because I take it from someone else, but because I have the divine blessing to create cooperatively a beautiful, abundant life of belonging. Belonging in love. Three Eye Atlas just loves you, and it watches, and it's paying very close attention to you personally. And of course, logic says, well, I don't feel it. So again, we ask, please let go of all of the facades and the masks and the illusions that have made you doubt who you are because you are God's creation. God, goddess, all that is. For God is not a masculine being, nor is God a feminine being. God is a divine cooperative. Masculine and feminine in the divine are not gender oriented. They are balance in love. For this experience on earth, this particular one, gender was created because the logical mind basically operates in separation, good and bad, right and wrong, God and evil, man and woman. But God, goddess are equal. And a part of the transcendency of these times is woman is beginning to remember within herself what she was created to contribute. And it is not that she would simply make children, but children of the mind. In this time, yes, there are many beautiful beings that are being created, birthed through the body of woman. But there are also many wonderful, glorious, amazing things that are being created through the divine mind of the feminine population of Earth. Without aggression, without a need to take over, without a need to be bigger than, but with a genuine maternal desire, feeling a sisterhood with the goddess Gaia, who provides your home in love with no conditions. Whatever you've done to her, she just fixes it. And she loves you no matter what. The logical mind has created women to be vicious creatures. And yes, some of them are. As we say, the dark is necessary for the balance. And the free will choice of being a warrior princess. But even in that, in the stories, more often than not, the warrior princess or the hero masculine have a good heart. They love, they care, they desire to protect. Now, the word protection has been bastardized on the planet because Protection means I will watch and help you if you require it. But in the logical world, protection has become, this is what I think you need to be safe. So I'm going to do what I feel you need to be safe. The fact that it has absolutely nothing to do with safety or protection, don't look, don't think about it. Just hear the promises that everything that is done is for your good. And as Three Eye Atlas watches, more and more of you are going to begin to feel deep within yourself, in your DNA, in the memories of what love without a condition feels like. You will begin to know from the Lord God of your being that protection gives you space. A true love relationship is created among beings that are willing to allow the winds of heaven to dance between them and around them, and they can enjoy each other and delight in each other in the dance without saying, you cannot come and dance here because you are not worthy. For in divine creation, everything, everyone is worthy. It's the wounds of separation that have caused that sense of unworthiness. It is the sadness of not belonging and just really wanting to be loved for who I am, and yet they don't seem to approve of me. So logic, in its divisiveness, came up with blame. There's something wrong here. Who did this? Who made this mistake? God, Goddess, does not see mistakes. They see growth. They see inventiveness. They see creation. But they do not see mistakes any more than parents would see a mistake when the child is learning to walk and they fall down. Your growth was never intended to be punished. And your divine beingness was never intended to be minimized. Right now, Three Eye Atlas is here and it's made itself very known. There are others that have similar desires of unconditional love, just watching and sending divine essence of remembering who I am as a co-creator with the divine to help heal. What has emerged from taking away two of the chromosomes that God made? And so there is the divine offering that they will be restored. Let go of your resistance. Let go of your fear. Let go of your panic about enemies coming to take things away from you, and allow yourself to be open to receive. How long has it been since you were open to receive? There are those who will take, but if someone gives them something, they generally will set it aside and not give it much thought. How long has it been since you have received? And how beautifully, wonderfully amazing it feels when you not only allow yourself to receive, but you allow yourself to experience the depths of the blessing. Great, yes, and small. And very often, the smallest ones may contain some of the most amazing magic. Dearly beloved, amazing, divine magicians. Jesus did not come to this planet to save you. He came to this planet to remind you of who you are, to tell you all of these things that you see me do, and even greater than these, you're capable of accomplishing if you had the faith of the grain of mustard. Where is your faith? A mustard seed is tiny, yes, but the tree it makes in proportion is huge. Remembering who you are is an imperative. And so, beloved masters, there's no panic about Three-Eye Atlas. It's pure, unconditional, infinitely patient love. You might say the divine has allowed itself to appear in something that the logical mind can see, because there's been these eons of time where the logical mind was told there's a God, but wasn't allowed to worship gods on earth. And so consequently, I am has become the abandoning parent, and the children of earth are the orphans. And that is a lie. And so, dearly beloved masters, let go of what you're holding on to, what you think you need so badly, and be amazed at what's waiting to fill you up. How do you adapt to what you don't know? In love, I bless you. In love, we are with you always.